And we'll get started in another minute here. Has anybody been outside today to enjoy the nice weather? It's like the perfect combination of temperature, sun, humidity or lack thereof, no rain, flowers so nicely taken care of, no wind, no mosquitoes, no large wildlife. The turkeys are all in my yard at home. Kid you not, it was early Sunday morning. I was taking care of my neighbor's house across the street. I went over there and I was coming back from putting a package in the garage for him, and I looked over in the grass. They have kind of tall grass, and I saw this big thing like this. I thought, well, they have a toy out in the yard? And it wasn't a toy. I walked over, there's a huge snapping turtle. And we're not anywhere close to, we're a couple blocks from the lake. Oh, things like this. I go back over to my house and look out in the backyard. There's deer in the backyard. Went away. I went out and chased the deer away. Went back again. There's turkeys in the backyard. It's like a middle of a zoo and this is Columbia Heights. It's not exactly rural. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Great to have you here. We do have lots of seats over here on this side. I take it that everybody that normally sits over there and right here is outside enjoying the nice weather today and didn't get the encouragement in the 990 broadcast this morning from Jake about coming to the managers meeting or the management meeting today and the important updates and information that I will be bringing to you today. But so be it. Oh, they're here. Finally, they've arrived. Let's give them a hand. Just joking. But no, it is good to be with you today for the August. Who can believe it's August? I say that every month. August 2025 edition of the management meeting. And I do have a lot of important information and updates to bring to you today. A lot of them are repeats, but there is more information to share on these repeats. What I would like to do before we get started here, everybody's received their edition of the York Times this month. It is a fabulous edition of the York Times. I just wanted to recognize, I don't think John Ramsey is here today. I didn't see him.
I think the newsletter committee is meeting right now.
Oh, the newsletter committee is meeting right now. Their ears are itching as I just wanted to congratulate and thank John Ramsey for his service as the York Times editor. If I'm not incorrect, and I think it says that in this edition, that the September edition will be his last newsletter that he'll be serving as editor. He will still be continuing on the committee, the newsletter committee, but just want to recognize all of the hard work. So if the newsletter committee is meeting right now, there aren't any newsletter committee people here, are there? To further recognize. And Kara's not here, who puts it all together. There's so much hard work that goes into this each and every month. I am certain that this is the best newsletter of all of our Ebenezer managed properties, and that is, I think, more than 70 now. And if you haven't had a chance to take a look at this, be sure to do. But when you see John Ramsey, these next days and weeks, be sure and thank him for his service as the newsletter editor, even as he continues on the committee. And thanks as well to all of the committee and to Kara, who does the production of it. All right, with that being said, let me jump right into updates, announcements, and so forth. I do want to announce that one of our newest part-time security staff has resigned that part-time position. She will be continuing as a casual worker. Who's met Maxine on the weekends at the security? I haven't even met Maxine. She works on weekends, and I'm not here on weekends, but I think this coming Saturday is her last Saturday working her regular part-time position, but she has agreed to stay on as a casual worker to be on call, and her position has been posted so we can hire somebody else for that regular part-time position. Often, as I run through all of the updates on things, I don't give as much time to some of the end of the agenda items that I always have on my list. So I'm going to jump ahead to those just so I don't run out of time for those. One of them is about the budget. Any committee chairs, vice chairs, assistant chairs, sit in a chair of any of the committees here? Raise your hand. I met with you, at least I hope all of you that raised your hand about a week ago. In fact, it was a week ago today, just to give committees the opportunity to participate in the budget preparation process. While certainly the management and myself as general manager head that effort, lead that effort, and most of the material that goes into the budget each year is done by management, I don't want it just to be a product of management, and it shouldn't be just a product of management. It should have member involvement, and primarily through committees. So that's a reason for me meeting with committees, even if they don't necessarily have a budget need for their committee, they also have the opportunity to bring to the floor or bring to the fore other projects or budget ideas that they might have that I give them the opportunity to present. So it is the budget for the cooperative, and you as co-owner members should have skin in the game and have a part in contributing to the budget where and when possible. So I started work on the preparation for the budget back in April, and that's putting together an Excel workbook that has several different tabs in it that contains all kinds of different information, and all of the information for the 2026 budget needs to be plugged into that. So that process just now is beginning. I met with my staff, or some from my staff, this morning that are responsible for their own departments or areas of the budget, or are working with committees that have a role in the budget, and got them started with their part in getting information to me over the next month and a half to be able to put into the Excel workbook. Along with me is a group of board members and a couple of committee chairs who I will be meeting with at least on a monthly basis, and I will be extending an invitation for the first meeting with that group next week. Probably an invitation will go out for Wednesday. I've looked at my calendar already. And again, that's 3 board members, chair of the Finance Committee and chair of the Property Committee, if I have that right. I think I have that right. All right, so the budget process is getting started here. Something else that is taking place, and it's extremely important. It is probably, in some ways, the most important thing that gets done here at 7500 York Cooperative that management is involved in, as well as some members either through their committees or the board. And that is this. Who knows what this is just by looking at the binder here? Anybody want to take a stab at it? Nope, nope, and nope. I haven't heard it yet explicitly. It is the reserve study. And it is many, many, many pages long. Most of these pages with information and pictures, giving guidance, giving specific information about the things that are to be replaced in the building. In this binder are spreadsheets, and these spreadsheets have a list of all of the replacements that are attended to by the reserves. And how does the cooperative accumulate its reserve funds? With your fees, yes. And that happens on an annual basis, a part of the operating budget that is put together. There is one line item that is deposits to reserve funds. And what Reserve Advisors does, and I didn't put this up on the screen because it is so small and hard to see, but when all of the replacement components, components are things like windows, doors, renovations, waterproofing, flooring, appliances in your unit, boilers, hot water heaters, cooling tower, all of those sorts of big ticket items, either by themselves or collectively, are paid for through the reserves. And so all of the components are here. They have a lifespan, they have a cost for the component, there's adjustments made for inflation, and so forth. And what has been done every year since I have been here, and will continue to be done annually, at least for the next couple of years, is for me, along with Michael on our team, the chair of the Property Committee, in this case for this year, George Sverdrup, last year as well. We go through this reserve study of all of the components line by line by line by line to make sure that the components fall in a schedule of when they're to be replaced in the best place possible. We don't want something too far out and the funding isn't prepared for that. We don't want it too soon because we don't want to be replacing something that doesn't need to be replaced yet. So this is probably the most important thing that I'm involved with here at the cooperative, because this provides for the future of the cooperative and keeps the cooperative out of financial crisis. There are millions of dollars that are being placed into reserves every year. Every month, there's almost $150,000 that just goes into the reserve funds. This year alone, that's almost 1.8 million that's going into the reserve fund. And so as we're spending large amounts of money for such things as the rooftop units, the waterproofing out here, replacement of boilers, the replacement of flooring or appliances in your units, we're taking those tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, and sometimes cumulatively millions of dollars out of the reserve funds. We're also putting millions of dollars back into the reserve fund through your monthly fees. So all of that is planned for. It is very, very important that that happens. So the budget process is going on. The update to the reserve study is going on. We have met with their advisor already, and we should be getting back a draft on that in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And that will be reviewed by me, and it will go to the property committee, finance, as well as the board to approve that addition, that update of the reserve study. Again, so important. We work really, really hard every year to prepare the best possible operating budget that meets the needs, the daily operating, the weekly, the monthly operating needs of the cooperative. But it is so important to have the replacement components that we're planning for years out to be prepared for, planned for as well. So there are as few surprises as possible, because as best as we try, there's always some type of surprise or something else that needs to be planned for. I have also been working on with a few members of our team here to establish standards for the replacements in your units. So the replacement components in your units are flooring, countertops, appliances, vanities, cabinets. Those are the main replacements that happen in your unit. So whenever you're a new member and you go into an empty unit, before you bring all of your stuff in, your personal possessions, the things that you see sitting there that are attached to the walls, the floor, those are the replacement components that are handled by the reserve study. So I've been working on putting together what is the standard for the cooperative. What does the cooperative want for a standard look or a standard quality or standard cost of a component in your units? And that will, be approved. The property committee will review that, and eventually that will be approved by the board of directors and will be reviewed annually to make sure that the cooperative has a good set of standards for inside the units. Okay, so that is the end of the agenda stuff. So let me jump back to the main part of the agenda today. But before I do that, does anybody have any questions about that, about the budget, about the reserves or reserve study? All right, thank you. You can ask questions later on as well. The waterproofing project in the North Plaza. Does anybody remember what I projected for when I hoped? Oh, you didn't even wait for me to cross all my fingers yet. That's right, it was July 31st. And then I had somewhat of a hope that it might be August 31st. Do you know a date that it's not going to be? August 31st. But work is progressing out there. Now, I often, almost daily, get comments from members that, why don't I see any work going on out there? Well, there is work going on out there, but what you see going out there is somewhat sporadic. The main things that have needed to go on out there to date have happened, but there are things going on off-site, primarily at this point, for the production of this. Who remembers what I said about this, what this is for? It's not for when you were a little kid and you misbehaved and you got a spanking. What is this for?
That's the deal. Why weren't they making that before? Why did they wait this long to start making it?
Everything kind of has to go in progression, and they had a team out here, and everything has to be measured very carefully, and things just go in a progression. The detail of that, I'm not behind the scenes. I'm working with our owner's rep, and I'm working with the contractor, and the people making this is a subcontractor, and actually is from our northern neighbor, Canada, that this is coming from. So if you remember, I had some tables set up here. This is a picture here of where the wall of the building comes down to the plaza deck or the plaza floor. And if you look out the window, you can see this channel that runs all the way through there. That's called an expansion joint, and that was very inadequately waterproofed either when the building was constructed or at any time after. So what this does is this sits in there like that, up against the wall, with the bottom up against the floor, and it's able to twist as concrete expands, contracts, perhaps moves a little bit, and water can't get through this. And so there's a big roll of this that will be applied to the entire channel all the way around the perimeter of the plaza. And then there's a coating that goes down over the top of this. Let's not jump ahead here, Mitch. And so that coating is a polyurethane type of material that's being applied to the entire deck of the plaza. I think I've perhaps explained this before, but it has to tie in with this when this is put in so that water can't get under this, behind this, also does not get through the deck of the plaza. Do those two lines look familiar to anybody? Where are they located?
The middle of the plaza.
Right down the center of what? Of the plaza. You are correct. And similar to the channel that runs around the edge of the perimeter of the plaza, these serve the same purpose. They're expansion joints, so as the concrete, when big expanses of concrete are poured, they have to put in expansion joints because the concrete, believe it or not, expands and contracts. It's not enough to see, but it does happen. So it protects the concrete so it doesn't totally crack up by pressures from one way or the other. What they've done to prepare for the application of the Puma coating, the polyurethane coating that will cover the entire plaza deck out here, they had to scrape out all of the caulk that was in that expansion joint. So there have been a couple of very heavy rains since this was done, and if you've been down in the garage, you might have noticed that there was some water coming in where it doesn't normally drip. And it was right under these expansion joints because there's no caulk in it yet again in preparation for the polyurethane coating. I came down here at 5:30 on Saturday morning. I don't know if anybody experienced the extremely heavy, severe thunderstorm that we had from 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. on Saturday morning, but I was awake at 4 a.m. on Saturday morning, and I could just about bet my bottom dollar that that severe thunderstorm was centered over my house because the lightning never stopped. It's just like a light went on outside, and it was pretty amazing. So I thought, well, since I'm up anyway, and I'm trying to keep tabs on how effective the waterproofing to date is, even before it's complete, I'm going to drive down to my favorite location in Edina and take a look at what's going down in the garage and where there is still some water coming in, which is to be expected. It's not in any way saying that the waterproofing isn't working. It is. But since it hasn't been completed, there are still some gaps out there where it hasn't been completed. What I did notice is I saw some water dripping down below these expansion joints, which I hadn't seen before. And then I realized they took the caulk out of these, and while you would see evidence of mineral deposits up above, and you are probably aware, anybody who parks down there in the center area, those insidious tarps that are hanging from the garage roof, that is protecting what might get through these expansion joints. I've said a lot without really saying anything. My apologies. But the waterproofing project is going on. I am working with it daily. I have some sort of communication almost daily with either the contractor or our owner's rep, or as I see subcontractors outside working, I will go out, I will ask them what they're doing so that I can better understand it myself, so that I can explain it to the members when you ask. By next managers meeting on September 10, so again next month, it's the second Wednesday of the month because of, I think it's an open house that's happening on the third Wednesday of September. So again, the second Wednesday of September. By the managers meeting in September, you should have seen this put down around the entire perimeter of the plaza, as well as some of the application of the polyurethane coating. If you haven't seen any of that by that time, I will probably ask one of my other team members to come up and do the management meeting. The lobby and balcony project. Are any of the Lab 23 committee members here? 1, 2. So since the 3, 4, and note taker as well, since the last managers meeting, I believe that the committee has, I know they have met at least twice, perhaps 3 times. They met with the design architect on Tuesday, July 29, at which time the design architect team presented to the committee what their vision for the renovation design would be, what it would look like, what the colors or the color palette would be, what the different elevations would be of areas around the security station where the packages will be, under the stairs over there. I didn't stay for all of the meeting, but I know that a lot was worked on at that time and a lot of progress was made. I'm really excited about it, and the committee has done fantastic work in working with the design architect Mohegan Hansen. I know the committee met again last Friday, if I'm not mistaken, and they had some further discussions about all of what was presented to them and making some further decisions, I think, to bring back to the design architect. So there is continuing work, and it's getting down to the nitty-gritty on the actual design of the renovation of the lobby and balcony area. Any questions on those couple of topics with the waterproofing project and the lobby and balcony renovation? Yes, if we could get a microphone over here, please.
You're gonna make me walk all the way over here.
And speak right into the microphone so those
Okay.
on 990 can hear.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't know about 990.
Okay, I don't know either. You know, Mitch, I just wondered about the plaza. Are you pleased? I know it's taking longer, and then we go backwards and we go forwards, more to do. Now they're working behind the scenes. But are you pleased with what you see?
I am pleased with what I see. Do I wish it had gone faster? Do I wish that it was done last year? Well, that's impractical because of the unforeseen conditions that were found behind the brick that took so much more time to do further evaluation, design work. So in that sense, I'm not pleased that it has taken so long. I will be pleased when it is finished.
But you still have faith in the company? And
Yes,
the
I do.
contractor? Okay.
Yes, I have very much faith in our owner's rep, and I believe that the contractor that we are working with is a good contractor. Any other questions? All right, let me move along. Boiler, one more question.
Regarding the expansion channel and that membrane that they're going to put in there, if that gets a cut or something in it, is there a potential leak possibility with that?
Well, as you phrased just as you phrased the question, if it were to get a cut in it, yes, that would be a potential leak possibility, but this will be protected. So there will be, on the wall portion, there will be metal that comes down over this, and then on the deck, there will be that additional Puma coating that is covering it. So there will be something over this that is protecting it. Okay, thank you. Very good question. Boiler replacement. So discussion and information gathering is continuing to go on with that. During the property committee meeting on Monday, we had our engineering company consultant come and present to the property committee about their findings and recommendations, and coming out of that, there will be a request for proposal developed, again with the assistance of Encompass. Encompass was the engineering company that I believe served as the cooperative's owner's rep and did engineering oversight for the window replacement project. But they are assisting us on the boiler replacement project because that is approaching $1 million or more than $1 million project. We don't have any final numbers on that yet, but what is in the reserve study for that is between $1.1 and $1.2 million. So we want to make sure that we're getting proper information through a an experienced consultant. And so that is ongoing to have a request for proposal for this project. We have a very good idea of the type of boiler that we want, as well as the burners. And while it is possible, maybe even likely, that we will purchase those boilers this calendar year, this fiscal year, it is almost certain that they will not be installed until spring next year. It is not the type of project where you can do a replacement of your main heat source during winter. You have to have redundancy. So even if you have one boiler that's functioning well until it's not, you have to have the redundancy of the second boiler to fall back on in case something happens with the first boiler. So more to come on that as that develops. Domestic hot water balancing. That was done. I think it was done by the time we had the managers meeting last month, or it was just being completed. And I haven't received anything other than very positive feedback from members about hot water in your units. I have heard secondhand about one member bringing to Michael's attention that the hot water wasn't as immediate into their unit as they would have liked. That happened very early in the morning. So there is a recirculation system that keeps hot water circulating through the pipes so that every time you turn on your hot water faucet, you're waiting for the hot water to come all the way from the hot water heaters in the boiler room. So there are circulation pumps that keep the hot water circulating through all of the hot water pipes in the building that go into your units. But when it's not being used much, if at all, during the night, the circulation system, the hot water pumps, don't keep it as hot as is ideal. So if you're turning on your hot water very early in the morning, you may have to wait a minute or two or three for it to get really hot. Pardon?
More than that, it takes, it's ice cold sometimes in my bathroom faucet.
Around what time in the morning?
8, not 7. You have to run the faucet for 5-10 minutes to get it hot.
Even now, you're
And
saying?
then they say don't leave the water running when you brush your teeth, so it's a good thing we've got torrential rainfall.
Okay, so you're saying even now it's taking 5 or 10 minutes?
Yes, frequently.
Okay, so the reason that I'm bringing this up is I want to ask the membership if anybody is having that same type of issue where early in the morning you're having to wait more than a minute or two, 3, to let Michael know if you have an issue with your hot water. Because what was done is a balancing valves were put in all over the 9th floor. That is where the hot water pipes run for that. And on the 9th floor, it controls all of the other floors. So there were, I think, more than 100 adjustment valves put in on the 9th floor to be able to make adjustments yet if something isn't quite right in anybody's unit. So please, any of you, anybody out on 990, we should announce this again on 990 morning broadcast. I'll send out an email. But if anybody is still having something that's not optimal, please let Michael know so that we can make an effort to get it adjusted. Okay? All right. Garage cleaning. Who can tell me the 2 dates that garage cleaning is happening next year? You're very close. That is correct. April 28th and 30th next year. Plan to have your vehicle out of the garage. I will continue to announce this every month, and something will come out in writing at least 2 months before that happens. There will be a $100 fine if anybody has a car left in the garage. We don't want anybody's $100. We just want to be able to clean the garage floor properly. Annual inspections. I want to again express my appreciation to the members for your patience, for your understanding, for our maintenance team to get into your units. It was very successful. To the best of my knowledge, there were very few, actually only one I think that I've heard of a significant condition in a unit that might need a more costly repair, say for example into the thousands. And there's kind of a understandable reason for that. It's a very different situation than the year before, and before that we didn't have inspections. But what I want to report, and we'll see how this pans out over the rest of the year, but we budget into our operating budget a certain amount of money for unit repairs and maintenance. Those are things that fall outside the norm of the other specified budget items that are very specific, like electrical and plumbing and well, those are two, those are the two main ones. We are way under budget on our unit maintenance and repair budget line item this year, which means we haven't needed to go into units and make costly repairs. And so I'm very, very pleased about that. It's not to say that something couldn't happen over the last 5 months, 4.5 months of the year, but it's a good indication that we've been able to stay on top of situations or conditions that might occur that need more costly repairs by having inspections and becoming aware of things before they become serious and costly. So thank you for that. Chilled water pipe condition evaluation. That is in its beginning stages. It is a costly contract that we have with our mechanical contractor to do this evaluation and investigation. It costs about $25,000 to do this, to go around and have an evaluation and an inspection of the chilled water lines. The chilled water lines are what bring you your air conditioning. Those chilled water lines run around the first floor, second floor, I think maybe even the third floor, and they run up the building, every stack. And in your apartment, in your unit, there is that fan coil that has that big louvered panel, and a fan blows over the chilled water line, and that's what puts out the cool air into your apartment. It more than sounds like, it is a lot of money to spend $25,000 to investigate, evaluate other possible areas where there might be issues with the chilled water lines rusting and springing leaks. I think all of you are aware of the leak that occurred in the puzzle area of the balcony and down outside the dining director's office of the York room. which actually extended up into the old Stop and Shop and down into the food storage area that's used by the York Room at the garage level. Those two leaks, with the replacement of pipes, the emergency situation in which that happened, all of the drywall repair, the paint, cost about $75,000. Don't like to spend that kind of money in emergency situations for things that are hidden up in the ceiling and behind walls. And by spending $25,000 trying to identify any other areas around the building where those same types of situations are occurring, rusted through pipes, and they rust because they sweat, because they're cold, and they're not properly insulated. We can't see it. We don't know about it because, again, it's up in the ceiling and it's inside the walls. So we will be doing our best, or our mechanical contractor will be doing their best to identify any areas where the chilled water pipes are having the same types of conditions. I hope that we don't find any. And you might say, well, that's a waste of $25,000. Well, no, it's not. Because if we find even one, and we have a situation where we have to spend $25,000 or $50,000 to do emergency repairs, it will have been well worth spending the $25,000. It's sort of like an insurance policy. You spend money for insurance and you hope that you never need to use it. This is sort of that same type of situation. Any questions about annual inspections, chilled water line evaluation, garage cleaning? Awesome. Exterior facade repairs on the north facade. The north facade, that's the term that we have given it, is the very north exterior expanse of wall. Now I totally skipped over the head. All these visual aids about the plaza. This still has to be, have concrete poured there, concrete poured there. There still has to be waterproofing done along here. This goes around from the plaza over here, around over to that north facade, which is at the end of the building here. Sorry, I forgot I had all these visual aids here. And then I wanted to talk, when I was talking about those expansion joints, I'm sure you're familiar with these gutters that are up here. Tubes running down from the gutters into these very insufficient 5-gallon buckets that when it rains heavily, they overflow in about 2.5 minutes. And the water just goes down the drains anyway. When this waterproofing is done on the plaza, the tarps should be able to go. The gutters, the tubes, the 5-gallon buckets on the north end of the south garage. The south end of the south garage, that's a different story yet down the line, but will be addressed. And then I talked about the boilers. I don't know who's never seen the boilers before, but this is what they look like. They're as big as jet engines, and they are idle during the summer because we have these water heaters that we got back in February. This is the north facade. And this is at the very north end of the east wing. We became aware of possible conditions in this wall when they were doing or still working on the current waterproofing project from the plaza that works its way around to the north end of the building. So when they were doing some openings down here at the very bottom to be able to tie in the waterproofing from behind the brick to the waterproofing that they had already done of the foundation that they had dug out and done a hot tar application. They were going to tie that in together. When they did those openings at the bottom of the wall, they found some conditions somewhat similar to the conditions they found around the perimeter wall of the plaza, where water had gotten in behind the brick and started to rust and degrade. And so when they did these openings down here and found those conditions, they asked our permission if they could do some test openings going up the building, and they also did it at the other facade, this facade here, but they've been closed up. So if they could see what the conditions are behind there, because they were concerned that with the rusting, the degrading of the steel structure of the brick, that it might extend up the building. I want to be very clear, everybody, I'm not patronizing anybody, but put on your listening ears here. There is no danger to the structure of the building. There's no issue with that. But it's a separate structure that holds up the brick. It's on the exterior of the building, has nothing to do with the interior of the building. And so there are issues with the steel structure behind this facade that needs to be repaired. There needs to be replacements of the steel structure that ultimately holds up that brick. So, is this brick facade in danger of collapsing? The best answer is no. Could there be some issue with some collapse of some of the brick on the north facade, if not addressed? Yes, there could be. Now, every floor is separate unto itself. There is a beam going across every floor that holds up the brick for that floor. So there is not N-O-T, not an issue with the whole brick facade falling down. That is not an issue. But it's not to say that if this wasn't attended to by doing some repairs, or in the case I'm about to talk about, and doing some temporary support of it, there is the chance over time that there could be some failure with a floor of brick. So the cooperative has contracted with Lurch Bates, our engineering company, and our owner's rep for the waterproofing project to do design work, to do supports for the steel structure going all the way up every floor on that building, and that will occur this fall. We will still be contracting with a masonry company to do the work. The estimated range of costs on doing a temporary structure is anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000, something in that neighborhood. I don't have exact figures, but when we do have those figures, I will let you know. Now, you might ask, why are we doing temporary supports for the north facade of the building? I think I mentioned last managers meeting that we have asked a couple of engineering companies, one of them being Lurch Bates, our current engineering company for these projects, as well as Encompass, who has done consulting work for us. They did engineering design work for us for similar brick condition or steel structure of the brick condition on the 29 stack just over here, and I believe on the number 2 stack back about 7 or 8 years ago, and also the window replacement project. We've asked them to come up with proposals, to make proposals, to give us an evaluation building-wide of might there be similar conditions around the rest of the building that need attention of repairs or replacements. That hasn't been done yet. We've got back 2 proposals from these companies. We need to look further into it to make sure that they would be doing, whichever one is chosen, that they would be doing exactly the work that we want them to do. But the reason I have this picture up here is this is out in the courtyard, and you can see this discoloration here. And what is that discoloration? Rust. It is rust. And where do you get rust? Moisture that's doing what? It's hitting metal and it's rusting. If we go back to this, it's a similar type of condition where moisture has gotten behind the facade, the brick facade of the building at that point, and it is rusted or started to rust the steel structure that holds up the brick.
Is that the wall where those rusted bricks are now?
No, I'm showing this because there are other areas around the building. If you go outside the building and you look, there are other areas that have rust discoloration. Is it every place outside around the building? No, it's not every place around the building. But if you take a walk around the building, you'll see several spots that have rust discoloration. It gives some indication that there is something going on that may or probably needs to be repaired at some point. So that is the reason for contracting with an engineering company to give us a rough order of magnitude. That's a very broad estimate, a very general estimate, kind of a 30,000-foot estimate of what the conditions might be and what it might cost to repair other areas around the building or replace brick or steel structure around the building. So I'm bringing this to you to inform you, not to alarm you. The building certainly is not about to fall down. Everybody understand that, please. The building is not about to fall down. The brick facades are not about to fall down. But are there issues to be investigated? Yes. Are there issues that may or probably will need some repair? Yes. We want to do that without waiting because we don't want to be attending to something in an emergency situation like those leaks that happened on the balcony and down in the York room with rusting water pipes. There are some rusting issues with the brick with the steel support of the brick facade. That's a lot of information there. Could we have a microphone over here, please?
You mentioned that you're going to repair them, but are you also going to find the source of the moisture that got in there so it doesn't happen again?
That is an excellent question. Yes. So, this picture here, there were similar conditions. This is the 29 stack up at the seventh floor, 8th floor, and 9th floor. And construction is different now than it was 47, 48 years ago on how you would build an exterior facade with brick and how you would construct it. So it is a given that water will get behind a brick facade. Why? It's porous. It's made of brick, which has some porous qualities to it, as well as the mortar, the concrete that's holding it together. It is a given that water will get behind the brick. There are ways of designing it so that the water that gets behind comes back out through the brick. So on this, the things that were repaired over here on the 29 stack, 7th, 8th, and 9th floor, and it was a pretty easy fix, actually. This is called through-wall flashing, and it's designed to bring the water back out. If you walk around the building, you can see where every single floor is, and one of the components that was used previously, I'm not sure if it's still used here. I don't see it, but it might be. They use wicks. It's like rope, and the rope is through the mortar in the wall, and it's designed when water gets behind to have it weep back out of the brick. So yes, it will be repaired so that it functions properly. We need a microphone here.
I remember when they did that, it was before the windows were installed. They tore out all the caulking and recocked.
You're referring to another thing that was done back in 2021, and that was a tuck pointing
Well, they did all the
Of the-
windows and between
of the building. So
between
with
the windows.
tuck pointing or the rehab of all of the mortar and caulking and so forth, yes, they went around the entire building and did those types of repairs. No, it's a different sort of thing. Certainly, it would help water to not get behind the brick as much as it might have otherwise gotten behind, but water will get behind brick regardless. It is porous. I hope I did a good job of trying to explain that on the front end of all of this. It is very technical. It's very in the weeds. I've learned a lot about it, but I don't know everything about it. George and Roger have been with me on this journey. Anything that you would care to add that I've misstated or didn't state or that I should take back that I misstate?
No, excellent job.
I am just wanting to bring you information because as co-owner members, you need to be aware along with the committees and the board and management that is working on these issues on your behalf. I don't think that there is any reason to be alarmed. If things were left undone, there could be reasons to be alarmed. All right, let me move on with that because I have just, I don't have any time left, but I'll take a few more minutes here. The new security cameras, both interior as replacements, most of those are down at the garage level. There will be additional ones on the exterior of the building around, giving us additional video security. Though that installation is starting on the 21st of this month, will take about a week to get all those cameras in. Elevator number 5, I mentioned this repair. The replacement of the sheave needs to be done. This is the sheave, and this is the cable that hoists the elevator cab up and down the building. And how do we know that that needs to be replaced? If you look here below where that area is, you see all this discoloration. What is that discoloration? It's rust. It's not rust from water, but it's rust from friction. And it is an indication that this needs to be replaced. Is this an emergency situation? No, it is not an emergency situation. If it was an emergency situation, we would have shut it down, or our elevator company would have had it shut down. But it is a urgent situation because it is getting to that point where it will be shut down on us, and at some point there could be the danger where the elevator got stuck. The elevator is never in danger of falling, but it could get stuck. Anybody here been stuck in one of our elevators before? Yeah, a couple over here. We don't want that to happen. So this has been ordered, and we're waiting for it to arrive. This is number 5 elevator. This is the freight elevator that the York Room uses. We'll get around that. Doesn't the facade of the garage entrance look nice?
Yes.
That was done last week, I think. Thank you, Shar. Looks, how many years were you saying you were waiting for that to be done?
Probably
12 years. Well, we almost got it done in time. Anyway, it looks nice out there. The other thing I want to mention is that the installation of wireless thermostats are being installed at all of the elevator lobbies. So those units in each of the 18 elevator lobbies on the west side and the east side over here that blow air and are the reason for members commenting, put it that way, that it's either way too hot or way too cold in the elevator lobbies and in the hallways. Installing these thermostats, it is not cheap. It is $23,000 to do this, is so that the temperature can be regulated in the common areas, in the elevator lobbies and the hallways. Right now, there are only dials inside those fan coil units. There's no temperature. They are not accurate. It is a nightmare to try and control the temperature in the common areas of the elevator lobbies and the hallways. In the long run, this will pay for itself by being able to regulate the temperature properly and at the same time making it more comfortable for everybody. And then I didn't mention the cost to replace this, almost $49,000. Things just cost a lot of money. There is not an option to not do it. But these things are planned for in the reserve study, with the exception of this one. This one was in the reserve study, but there had been no funding applied for it until out past 2060. So it's part of the update, the adjustment that is being made to the reserve study this year to put funding in for replacing these for the other elevators as well, ongoing. That's a lot of information today. I appreciate your patience, your understanding. I really appreciate your questions. I love questions. Don't ever be afraid to ask. And if we can get a microphone here. I bring information, and I want to bring you especially the information that you need and that you want.
My question is, have you been able to interview for Kathy's job?
Not yet. Still in the process.
Have you had applicants?
It has not even been posted yet. It is about to be posted. I am working on that. I've been working on it for the past week. All right, any more questions? Hearing none, seeing no hands, thank you very much. Have a good afternoon, everybody.